Welcome to the Imperfect Dads Podcast. This is your host, Devin. We believe dads care deeply about their family and kids, but they don't always have a space to discuss what their life looks like. Our podcast is a space for dads to discuss the ups and downs of fatherhood and how they feel like they're holding it together or how they're not. Thank you for joining us for this episode. This podcast is part of the Never a Face Network. Make sure to follow them on Instagram or go to the website neverafacenetwork.com. On this episode, we have a musician and host of the Working Songwriter podcast, Joe Pug. We talked about balancing podcasting, touring, and recording new music, appreciating this phase of parenting, coaching baseball, keeping the magic of holidays alive as your kids get older, and prioritizing being around for his kids. And also just like one more thing.
Dad, just start the episode.
Oh, my bad.
Anyway, hey, Joe, welcome to an episode of The Imperfect Dads. I really appreciate you wanting to be on.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So most easy, basic first question to do is how many kids you got and ages? And we'll start the conversation with that.
Great. Yeah, I have 3 kids. My oldest is a boy. He's 9, then 2 girls, 7 and 4.
Nice. What's the, I have the same age kids as you do. My oldest are 23 months apart. For your 2 oldest, like what's the age difference between those two?
2 years and a couple months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's always funny because like we definitely had those first 2 kids pretty close together. And then we're like, that we would like a third, but let's hold off for a bit because what the hell have we done?
I know. Yeah. I remember particularly with the first 2 years of her life, she turned 2. And when she turned 2, sleep is a little bit better and all that. And my wife and I both felt like we had been underwater for 2 years. And now it's 9, 7, and 4. Everyone's in school. I mean, this has been about as easy as an era of parenting as I've experienced and really fun. I'm really enjoying this era. I'd press pause right now if I could.
I agree. I feel like because it's, so I go daughter, son. And like, I know my oldest she's in 4th grade and like, I'm not looking forward to middle school with daughters. And so like, right now I've got like the oldest who's like figuring out how the world works. She's very problem solving focused. And then I have a 4-year-old who is just telling stories and talking constantly and a middle child who's like discovering friends and all that. So like, yeah, man, this is good. This is awesome. This is great.
Again, I would push pause right now if I could. I've enjoyed all eras of it, but I'm really keenly aware at all moments that this is like we just had Christmas and my wife turned to me afterwards and was like, Dad, we need to be prepared that might have been the best Christmas for all of it. You know what I mean? Like with the age
I do.
spread,
Yep.
It might have just peaked for the whole crew right there.
Yeah, because now we're about to get into like the, same. Our Christmas this year was great. Every kid liked what they got. They opened up the presents and cheered. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness. But I know like, in 4 years from now, it's going to be like, this isn't the exact shade of blah, 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 blah that I wanted. Why didn't you get me exactly this? And you're sitting there and you're like, I don't know. I'm trying.
And there's something about so obviously, definitely the 9-year-old knows that Santa's not real. The middle one, I think, kind of knows, but wants to keep on pretending. But the youngest one obviously still thinks it's real. And there's something about the youngest one still having that belief. I think it actually kind of has an effect on the older one in a way to make them a little bit less cynical than they would be without any other siblings there,
Yes. My oldest went on like a warpath like this year where she was like, I'm going to prove if Santa is real or not. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, just know that I think believing in Santa is fun and it's not fun to ruin things for your sibling.
Right. That's what I try. Our whole deal with the Santa thing was like, okay, we're going to do the Santa thing for sure. Yeah. The moment that someone comes home and asks me point blank if it's true or not, I'm not leaning into the lie from that. You know what I mean? Like if you ask, to ask the question, the game is over. We've just been playing a game of hide and seek or something like that. And you found me,
Have you had, so this happened to us this last year in which like the girls came home for like St. Patrick's Day and they're like, we need to set a leprechaun trap. So like we had to get like green glitter and like set up a box and stuff. And then I had to write a note. I feel like sometimes there are apparently traditions that I didn't know about where my kids almost feel like they're like, we got you. We know you are the leprechaun. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was a freaking thing, guys. Like I didn't even have time to plan for this.
We don't have a ton of those. Like we've never played Elf on the Shelf, but my middle daughter has heard about it. So she's tried to like will it into a thing
Yes.
on her own. And it's like, look, I don't know what to tell you, dude. We're really involved parents. We're all in on you guys. Elephant on a Shelf is something you're going to be, on a therapist's couch 20 years from now complaining that you never got to do, I guess, because
That's right.
we're not into it.
We got hit with the Easter Bunny, where like I think I'd gone to like Kroger or something like that and bought them some stuffed animals. And then they're like, "You bought these. It wasn't the Easter Bunny." And I was like, "We've never done the Easter we've never
We've
done
never
that."
even done that. That's right.
Like, I don't.
Right.
That's
That's funny.
that's the thing about your kids going to school that like I didn't anticipate. Was like we didn't do like a lot of Disney movies and stuff, and then my kids went to school and they're like, "Why aren't we watching Frozen?" And you're like, "We can watch Frozen. I
Yeah.
don't care that
Yeah.
much, guys."
Yeah, it's crazy. You realize, your influence starts to wane on them
It
more
does.
and more every year. Those
Yeah.
first 5 years, like you are the sun, the moon, and the stars. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Yeah, it changes.
It does. How does it whenever you, because you're a musician, I know you do podcasting and stuff like that. Are you still pretty active with touring, or is there gaps of time in which you're away for a good week or two out on the road?
Yeah, when I had kids, I changed it from a model. I used to play 150 to 200 shows a year.
That's a lot.
So it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what your late 20s and early 30s are
Mhm.
for. Pre-kid time, that's what it's for. So I worked really, really hard on the road. And then when my wife got pregnant with our first, I always knew that was going to
Mhm.
be the end of that era. So I switched down to doing about 50 or 60 shows a year.
Okay.
But the main thing I do is I don't do them in large chunks. They used to be 8-week tours, 10-week tours.
Oof.
And now, but when you don't have kids and then
That's
you're
fine.
off for 3 months and
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad. And then when my son was born, I did one trip to Australia that was like 11 days long. And by day
Mhm.
5, I was like, not happening. I've never done anything that long
Okay.
ever again. I typically go on 3, maybe 4-day trips, over a weekend, but it works out good. I mean, like I play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I told my agent I want to tour like a stand-up comic instead. That's what they do. They go, and no one comes to shows on Mondays and Tuesdays anyway, so
No.
it works out.
No. Do you feel like it? I've talked to other musicians where it seems like their mentality kind of shifts to like, if I'm going to be gone from my family, these shows, not like better be worth it, but like I don't want to play Monday, Tuesday anymore, in which I'm struggling to get a crowd to come out. Do you feel like your mind shifts to that of like, hey, if I'm away from the family, like let's capitalize, let's make sure everything is worth it, for lack
There's
of a
a
better way to
certain
put
dollar
it?
amount that I'll leave the house for, and anything below that, there's just no chance. There's always a saying in music, like a gig should have one of the 3 things. It's either got to be, good money, a good hang, or a good opportunity. Has to have one of those 3 things, and it's pretty much just switched to the one for me. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
even leaving for stuff that I think will be a good hang,
Yeah.
and for it to be a good opportunity thing, I mean, it'd have to be a huge opportunity.
Hmm.
Go
Yeah.
do it and then do it for no money. It'd have to be massive. Yeah, so I just don't do that anymore.
Cool. And I mean, like you're singer, songwriter, music. So I feel like you're probably aware of what venues you can also go play at. Like I wouldn't think, like if there's an arena tour, I wouldn't expect you to be leading an arena tour. you know,
I'm not the first call on that.
no. But if it's like, I live out in Denver area, and like Boulder has a phenomenal theater up there, which is really small and intimate and stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, I would happily go see you play in that environment to a room of like 100
Boulder
or
Theater,
200
yeah.
people.
Mhm,
Boulder
yeah.
Theater is awesome.
Yeah. I opened for the Wood Brothers there years ago. It's a beautiful.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an awesome spot. Well, since having kids, like you've pivoted a bit from expecting yourself to be on the road so much. What have you replaced the time on tour with?
Started a podcast that I do weekly called The Working Songwriter.
Mhm.
That's a fair amount of work, but
Yes.
it helps me. It's been great for getting the word out there about my music, actually.
Mhm.
So that's been great. And then I just took a lot of the aspects of the business that I've been paying somebody else to do
Mhm.
under my own aegis. I took all the merchandising away from a third-party merch company. I do all that now. I run the website. I run pretty much all the marketing
Okay.
for it as well. And that allows me to not pay somebody else, number 1, and number 2, use that time that I have at home for productive stuff.
Cool. Nice. I would assume that means you're around and available for like kid events, basically, like pick up from school, soccer games, whatever.
Pick up, drop off, someone's sick home from school, doctor's appointments, coaching baseball, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's the best.
Did you always want to be a dad, or what's it like with your relationship with fatherhood? Did you always want to become a dad?
Yeah. Yeah. I have really good parents myself. And I still have a really good relationship with them. And I think generally, if that's the case, I would say most people, if you had a nice childhood, you want to do the same. Not everyone, of course, but that was definitely the case. I have a great dad. And so I always knew it was going to be something I wanted to do. And I can see it in my son now, like when he plays with like if a younger cousin comes over or even with his little sister, is like he's interacting in a more like dad type way with the kids. You see the modeling. I'm sure I was doing the same thing when I was 9 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever I have to remind my oldest constantly that they're allowed to still be a kid because they do take on that firstborn, parenting the younger ones, which pisses off the younger ones a lot. Do you run into that with your oldest as well?
No, because mine's a boy. And so I
Okay.
think having the girl, like my middle one, I think kind of tries to take that on a little bit, but she doesn't have like enough seniority with our youngest for the youngest to take it seriously.
Yep.
And then my son, he's just a dude. Like he doesn't want
Okay. Yeah.
he wants to go out back and hit off the tee for a while.
Gotcha. I started coaching my middle child's soccer team this past year. It is a lot of fun to coach a kid's team. I never thought it would be this much fun. How do you like coaching a baseball team for your son?
I really like the coaching of the baseball. And there's so much great stuff on YouTube now for like how to run different baseball practice stuff. And it's made me fall back in love with baseball. I've been away from it for years and I'm just so back in on it now. It's so fun.
Nice. Who's your who's your MLB team? Who do you root for?
Orioles. We live in Maryland, so we're
Okay.
Orioles. We get up to a fair amount of games up there in Baltimore, and it's great.
I think it's really fun to take your kids to a sport, like an outdoor sporting event like that, like baseball is so casual and so chill. I think it's a ton of fun. What's your experience like taking your kids to a baseball game?
Baseball's great. Football, NFL games, I took my son to one. That was a little aggro. And I'm fine with if it's me and my buddies going to the game. I kind of like that. But like a real little kid, you start to notice, well, if you're there with a kid, I mean, presume like you're sober. Well, that's how I go. I'm not drinking at a football game when I'm there with my kid. And so you just start to notice how drunk everyone else is. And you're like, Again, if I'm there by myself and with my buddies, I feel fine. But when you're responsible for the safety of like a very small child, you're like, I don't like this. But the baseball games are not that vibe at all. No, they're so great. Orioles tickets. My vibe with the Orioles game is buy as cheap as possible tickets and as expensive as possible parking. Very dad move there. Like I want to park right next to the stadium, and then
I get that.
Seats. It's my dream, man. I love it.
I've done that. I lived in Nashville for a good 18 years or so, and I got into their MLS team. And I would do that. I would spend more on parking than on tickets.
That's
because walking 2 blocks with my kids, but spending $30 to $40 on the parking spot is different than because if I would go to a soccer game by myself, I knew a spot that was about a mile away. It was in the neighborhood. Sure. I would park there, be fine. Take me a 10-minute walk. Doing that walk with 3 kids, that's an hour. That's an hour walk.
I know. Yeah. So that's how we play those games. And, it's really nice. I used to go there to games with my father and my grandfather. And that kind of full circle thing it's very affecting,
Yeah. It is really cool. Youngest son, he'll start kindergarten this upcoming year. And I ended up getting a ticket to a World Cup game. And that's kind of like be my hey, man, I'm taking I think parenting is so fascinating because you do so many things where you're like, man, I hope whenever you're older, you remember that I tried to make a special moment of you celebrating, you starting a new phase in life. I love soccer. I've made you watch soccer with me. Let's go to one of the most ridiculous, a World Cup game. Wow, that's awesome. So parenting is filled with so many moments of I hope you remember this positively. I hope this doesn't just give you anxiety of crowds whenever you're older. And just hoping for the best here.
Yeah, they probably won't remember that. They're going to remember.
They won't. I know he won't, but still. But man, that's the parenting is so much of just being hopeful of I mean, this is something I care about and I don't expect you to care about it, but I do hope that you have a positive connotation around it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I remember talking to someone who's a parent before I became a dad, and they said, well, look, this is how it goes. Your kids aren't going to listen to anything you say, and they're going to watch everything you do.
Pretty
That's
much.
it.
Yep.
For good and for ill. And I think I I'd like to think I do a fair amount of good around my kids, but we're all human beings, and I still do a fair amount of bullshit that I'm not
Yep.
thrilled about. But at a certain point, you got to give it up to grace, and yeah.
Yep. Pretty much. The advice I'll give people who are about to be new dads is similar to that. Is like, you don't realize that your main responsibility now is to define what someone's views as normal. So like how you treat people,
That's
how
great.
kind you are, like if you are short with your wife, short with strangers and stuff like that, your kid's now going to assume that's how people normally act. And it's going to take you a bit to realize how much scrutiny you're actually under at all times.
Yeah, and you can see it coming out. Like sometimes you go to a park and you hear a little kid yell at someone or yell at an adult in a certain way. And I think to myself, like, I just learned how the dad talks to the mom, but behind closed doors. Like dead
Yep.
seriously. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like that's,
Yep. Yep. And I'm also not trying to be the judgmental, but yeah, you watch some kid react and you're like, did you learn that from somewhere?
I'm sure my kids have read stuff on a park where they think other parents clearly think that about me. I mean, but we're not.
Yeah.
We're human beings, man. We have major failures that can't be. You try to remediate them as best as you can. But
You do.
is what it is.
Kids are just a constant mirror and a great reminder of how much of a smart ass you are. That's basically what they do.
100%.
How'd you, so I've actually listened to your podcast before. Pretty much every guest you have on, I'm a fan of. What made you want to start the podcast? Was it just kind of like whenever you were pivoting away to doing more stuff around, not on the road, you're like, what can I do? What connections do I got?
That was part of it. Another part of it is I'm just not particularly good at social media. And I knew that about myself. It was one of those deals like when you own a business and you're not good at social media, like every 6 months, you'll say to yourself, like, all right, this is the month where I start posting 5 to 7 times per week. And I'm not
30-second reels.
And we're going to do 30-second reels. And the point of this is being consistent, and we're going to do it, and we're going to stick with it. And then 3 weeks later, I would stop doing it because it's not my medium. You know what I mean? And then I listened to a lot of podcasts and I felt like, that I tend to jive with that a little bit more. And indeed, that's the case. Like I'm more interested in it. I think I'm better at it. And that has made it so, I've posted a podcast every week for 10 years now and I haven't missed one because I'm interested in it because it is my medium. It's just all about finding a medium. I was never going to be Instagram. I don't even have a TikTok.
Okay.
But I have a monthly newsletter that I really like writing. I write essays for folks and I do the podcast, and that's what I can do. Maybe things would be a lot better if I could do the social media thing, but it's just not me, really.
Nope. And by the time you quote unquote figure it out, it's going to change. So if you get into the rhythm of, hey, I posted 2 30-second reels 2 times a day for 6 months, then that's a lot of work also. I don't care that much.
It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work that is not like the actual work.
Yeah. Nope. Talk to many musicians who are like, I would much rather just go write a song than do a reel about me writing a song.
Yeah. Although I do get into the thing of like, when I put a bunch of time and money into making a record and putting it out, I do have to remind myself, like, you kind of don't get to write a song for the next 3 or 4 months because your job is to, in any way possible, promote this. And it just is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's your, I know you've been a musician for a while. How's your mental space with like going to create? Do you have to like get into a zone to do it? Or do you have like rhythms in which you're like, hey, I'm going to write in the morning from this time or anything like that?
I definitely have time set aside to do it. But I tend to be more just like deadline focused. Like right now, I know, just finishing the album itself, not releasing it or announcing it or anything, that by like June 1, I want to have a master in hand. And then I just kind of work backwards from that. It's not a lot of like, every Monday from 9 to 12, we're going to do this. It'll be much more like, all right, June 1, I got to do a record. I have to have that in hand. So that could be Mondays 9 to 1 writing songs, or that could be, a couple really long sessions trying to make something happen.
Nice. Do you normally, when you like record, do you go to a studio record or do you have a home setup for that?
I went to studios for years to record, and I've switched to a home setup for several reasons. The technology is advanced.
It's insane.
So incredibly well.
Yeah.
So basically the only thing that doesn't everything can be software now
Mhm.
modeled. It sounds pretty much as good as the hardware except for microphones. So you have to have
Yeah.
a couple really good microphones, and that's an investment. But
Mhm.
I did that years ago, and now I just really like not having to be on the road to record.
Yeah.
Like cost myself like another 2 weeks on the road
Mhm.
away from the family. So yeah, I just do it at home. I've become pretty nifty at it. It's funny doing the podcast and editing the podcast is one of the things that made me be able to jump over, cross the Rubicon and finally start doing the records myself because with podcast editing, like there's so much audio editing to be done.
Mhm.
I woke up 5 years into doing the podcast and I was like, oh, man, I can edit audio now.
Yeah.
It was like a surprise skill that I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
accumulated.
That's cool. Well, that also makes sense if you kind of like go, hey, I want to have a master by this date. Then you walk it back. Then you just plan time at home. You're like, okay, Monday, I'm going into my studio. I'm going to focus on this. And it's not, there's a lot less barriers or steps you have to take to make sure you are being creative and writing and taking the time to record.
Yeah, yeah. And you just break it into chunks. Just, okay, if we want to have 12 songs, let's work backwards. How many do I have to have done by February 1,
Yep.
March, April, May?
Yeah. How do your kids feel about your studio? Do they ever sneak in there or do they have a fun relationship with it at all?
They don't really care about it that much. I mean, they'll get
They're
interested in it
kids.
at times and they'll plink on the piano for a little bit.
Yeah.
They'll want to put the headphones on and talk into the microphone with a bunch of
Yes.
reverb on it. But
Yes.
they're tapped out on that in, 5 to 7 minutes. They don't care.
Honestly, that's probably good for you because like nothing's worse than walking in and be like, hey, so the one microphone I care about, where'd you guys put it?
Where'd you guys put the Neumann U87?
Yes. That's awesome. It is. I studied music business or recording techniques at Belmont. And yeah, like that stuff of like, I mean, I still remember going to recording studios and seeing like ribbon microphones and all this outboard gear and stuff like that. And that you can have a compressor as a plug-in that sounds as good as like a vintage thing. That's a whole other debate if that's true or not. Is like fascinating to me how like that makes your life so much easier. That makes the ability for you to be more at home, be around, and like make it more cost effective is like reality for you. And that's freaking awesome. And I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, let's be clear. Like, I'm sure that these plugins for guys who are real audiophiles, these plugins
Yes.
are only 90 or 95% of what the hardware is. But who's going to be able to hear that? People are listening on Spotify where it has its own compression algorithm in these iPods, AirPods. Like,
Yeah.
what are we even talking about here?
Nope. Yep. Nope. I will sustain or hold back all of my nerdiness of audio because I have tons of thought on that also. Of just like, yeah, you're listening to this on your phone while you're doing 3 things at once. You're listening to blend and vibe. That's more what you're listening to.
Yeah. It's funny, man. Like, because so many people, and I sell a lot of vinyl. It's the main thing I sell
Yeah.
now. And people be like, it just sounds so much better on vinyl. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's like, you know what? It actually doesn't. None of this was recorded analog. So
Yeah.
this is all recorded digitally.
Yep.
It would actually probably sound a lot better on a CD than it
Mhm.
would, vinyl. But, people have their perceptions. And I mean, I think it's cool for them to be able to get the artwork and have that in a large format. But I don't think it sounds that much better.
I think whatever medium makes you more present to the song is what you should choose. So
Yeah.
if putting on a vinyl makes you pay more attention, buy a
Sure.
vinyl. But also because anymore you're taking a digital master and then printing it onto a vinyl.
Right.
So it's not the same as like, hey, they recorded this to tape, then they transferred the tape, and I'm just like, oh, now that sounds better. That absolutely sounds better.
There is some peanut butter and jelly going on there. Yeah, I mean, it's like no tape was harmed in the making of any of my records at any point.
No.
So.
Yes. Well, in the interest of time, so how I end every episode is ask 5 questions that are pretty fun. So I'll get to it. The first question is, did you have any backup names for your kids? Like, did you have any names that you almost named your kids that you can remember?
No, not really. My wife and I we've always been we went to prom together, man. We went to high school.
That's awesome.
We've been together a long time. And when we hash things out, we have kind of a dance of figuring out like who is more committed to their position. And then the other one kind of makes their way with theirs. So that's
I get it.
Yep. Names. Yeah.
Yep. No, that's, I feel like how we do marriage and parenting is like, hey, you seem like you care about this a lot. So you take lead and let me know what, like, if it's too much, I'll help out. But like, yeah, you care more. So like, why would I step in whenever you care more?
Yeah. And once in a while you hit that one decision where it's a high threshold thing for both of you.
Yep.
But I can pretty much count on one hand the amount of times
Yeah.
it's been like that.
Yep. Totally. Next question. Do you have a favorite like TV or movie dad?
TV or movie dad. Wow, that's a great.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is
You can also
a
do
bad answer here.
first one that comes to your mind. That's also acceptable as
The
well.
thing is, he's not a dad, but I look at him in a. I would want him to be. I think of The Big Lebowski. I think of Jeff Bridges. And he's not a dad, but he'd be a great dad. You know what I mean? If I could choose someone, he'd be a
I
great
bet the
dad.
dude has children. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I think he gets Julianne Moore pregnant at the end. I mean, at the end, I think
Actually,
he does.
he does. He does, actually. So he is a dad. You're right, because Sam Elliott at the movie says, and I'd like to think that there's another little duderino out there. But he is 100% a dad. So boom, that's my answer.
Okay. That one of my favorite obscure quotes from that movie is Julianne Moore dropping her robe and saying, "Jeffrey, love me." And his response is, "That's my robe." Not anything else about the moment, about her as a person. Just like, why are you wearing my clothes right now? And it's just so dumb and so deadpan. That's the first time we've gotten the dude as an answer. That's fantastic.
He, in that same scene, one of my favorite lines is he's going over like his resume with her and he's smoking a roach. And he goes, roadied for a while, Metallica on the Speed of Sound tour. Bunch of assholes.
It's just so casual and so dumb.
Little throwaway
so
line,
perfect.
but so good.
Next question. What's your go-to replacement curse word? Like you stub your toe, someone cuts you off in traffic.
God bless America.
The emphasis, I feel like, has to be on God. That's like the real big, like, God bless America. Like you go up and then you go down.
Yep, that's it.
That's awesome. Next question. What's your favorite like kids toy or activity? Like what's one of your favorite things to do with your kids?
Well, we got a new one that's really cool that we just started doing. I'm like a board game guy. I like to throw a lot with my son. But we just discovered, so he pitches a lot. And I just discovered kids this age at 9 years old, if they pitch in the off season, they're not supposed to throw a baseball for 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
They're not even supposed to take fielding practice and throw, much less pitch. Has something to do with, I've read about this, like the plates that are growing. I've never even heard reference to plates in a human body before. But anyway, so he can't, I told him, a couple weeks ago, I'm like, look, now that you're pitching, man, like you're not throwing until the season starts again in April. Like I've looked this up. All the doctors agree. All the sports medicine people agree. This is a widely agreed upon thing. You're not throwing. And so he was like, well, there's no baseball on. I can't throw the baseball. What are we going to do? So I found this game. It's called Stratomatic Baseball. It's been around for a really long time. And what they do is they take actual player statistics and they transfer them somehow into like outcomes in a game. And then you roll dice. Someone else is playing a pitcher against your batter. You roll dice to decide what the outcome are. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but for baseball.
Okay, cool.
We've been playing this a lot. Me and him play it a lot, and him and his buddies have gotten into it now too.
Cool.
Because we don't do, and this is no shade on anybody else and the way that they do things, but one of the hills that I'm dying on is like no video games in the house. I didn't grow up with video games. I understand that some people can have a healthy relationship with it, but I've seen a lot of particularly young boys not have a healthy relationship with it.
Yep.
So all of his buddies, 2 years ago, it was like, Dad, everyone's getting a Nintendo Switch for Christmas. I'm like, man,
not us.
Life ain't fair, buddy. You know what I mean? So
yes, I do.
I've had to find so many things. I don't want him to have to like feel like he's living without, though. You know what I mean? He's just twiddling his thumbs at home. So this game has been another successful entrant into the category of like, you can have fun without, playing strangers on the internet in Fortnite. I promise you can have a happy life.
And also just like dopamine hits, like, hey, video games are designed to give you like they're designed to mess with your brain waves. So let's avoid that if we can.
That's it. Like the one exception we make, we go on a week-long vacation every summer. And so I had this bright idea. I'm like, I'm going to buy an old school Nintendo 64 and get him some games for that. And you can play on vacation. Again, like I don't want to, but even then, so we'd take it on vacation during that week. I'd let him play some. You can see like the hook being set for that dopamine thing that you're talking about. And we left the vacation and my wife and I were just like, we've never seen a better endorsement for one of our parenting decisions than seeing that hack his brain in real time.
Yeah. Yep. And that was even a 64 doesn't have any internet capability. Yeah. It's like the dumbed down version of it. And it's
And he was getting to play Goldeneye, which is a pretty
Yeah, it's
good game there.
I'll come to your house. What's up?
Yeah, seriously. No, he would be going to bed on vacation, and my wife would fall asleep, and I'd be like, time to maybe we'll just go play Facility really quick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yep. That's also the fun. We do that also. We're like, hey, let's see if our kids are ready for this yet. And then you quickly realize like, nope, not yet. So this isn't a bad thing, but for us, we're not a fan of it.
Yep. No, not. It's just, again, and I'm sure I'm doing plenty of other things that other parents would cringe at that I let my kids do. But the video game thing, my son, I'm just out on. Yep.
And then last question for you is, do you have a least favorite kids show, song, anything like that? Like anything whenever your kids would watch it or listen to it, you're like, oh, I can't stand this. This is the worst. Yeah,
we had to get, for some reason, when my son was like 4 or 5, I didn't realize like how insidious YouTube was. So like we opened that door for like a moment.
Yeah.
It had to be shut.
Yep.
But there were a couple games on there, or a couple shows on there where it's like someone playing Minecraft and you just watch them play Minecraft.
Yep.
And that was the reason that my son can't even freaking play Minecraft. We don't even allow him to do that.
He has no access to it.
Play it. And so that's actually that was the thing that made me close the door on YouTube of like, no, like turns out you can shut Pandora's box when you're a parent. It's just like.
You can, for a while.
We're not happy about it, but it was like, no, oh, wait, I made a major mistake by even opening this door. It's being closed now. And that show, I think it was called Mikey and JJ or something like that, where they're just playing Minecraft. And I was like, hell no, no chance.
Yep. YouTube is we have found some people make like domino like runs on and stuff like that. We have found we'll set up like dominoes and it's like 5 million dominoes and they push it down. And I'm like, that's awesome. Cool. But then the kids see like in the related videos, like all these other things. And I'm like, no. I only trust like 3 things of content on this app.
I know. We'll use it to like learn stuff too. Yes. Like I let my son do like, I found a coach, this guy named Coach Dan Blewett, who does pitching tutorials and stuff on there. So in the same way that I use it for my business and when I'm trying to learn a new skill, we can use it as a tool.
Correct.
But this thing of like, you're going to screw off down into the basement and turn on, the child's equivalent of a doom scroll. Like
basically.
No.
Yep.
No.
Nope. We're good here. Yep. That is a common and felt thing of just being like, nope, can't trust YouTube unless I'm in the room. I've talked to some parents who are like, can only do it Saturday when we're around. Because I don't want you guys I can't have you guys just on YouTube finding whatever because who the hell knows where you end up.
Single word I don't like, it's off, man.
Yep. Pretty much. That's awesome. And then last thing for you is just like moment for self-promotion. If we want to find your podcast, listen to your music, if you have a Substack, anything like that.
Yeah. The podcast is called The Working Songwriter. It's now in the Bluegrass Situation Podcast Network, but you can find it anywhere you find podcasts. And my music is anywhere you can find music. So please go give it a listen.
Nice. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Devin. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much for listening to the episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Imperfect Dads Podcast. And make sure to give us 5 stars wherever you listen to us. Music, editing, and production is all done by me. Make sure to tune in on Mondays and most Thursdays for new episodes. This podcast is part of the Never Efface Network. Make sure to go to nevereffacenetwork.com to learn more about them.